now consider log number 5278 by Mr. Cisneros. For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Will the clerk please distribute the amendment? Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California for the purpose of explaining his amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you and the ranking member as well for everything you do for this committee and for our country. Military service academies, identity-based clubs provide support to cadets and midshipmen. They build community on campus. These are places where cadets and midshipmen can come together, learn from one another, and support each other as they navigate their military journey. This amendment would prohibit DoD from banning any military service academy from disbanding an identity-based club that do not use DoD funds. The Army has disbanded the following clubs: the Corbin Forum, a group to promote female leadership founded in 1976 when women were first admitted to West Point, the Latin Cultural Club, the National Society of Black Engineer Club, the Vietnamese American Cadet Association, a Society of Women Engineer Clubs, all while maintaining 12 religious clubs. The administration argues these clubs don't contribute directly to military lethality, but by that logic, religious groups and athletic clubs and the cheer squad don't either. But yet we continue to support those, and those clubs should face, if we're going to require this of our cultural-based clubs, we should require it that same scrutiny of all the clubs. Religious clubs exist to provide spiritual support, moral grounding, personal reflection, not combat effectiveness. Cultural competency is a strategic military advantage, and officers who understand their own identity and appreciate others are more effective leaders, especially in diversity and global operations. Now, when you have clubs like the Black Engineers and the Women Engineer Clubs, you know, these clubs are there to not only help them academically, but also provide a support infrastructure as they're going through this process of becoming engineers, both academically and emotionally. And if you were a student like I was when you took physics and calculus, it was an emotional experience, and you need that support. Cultural clubs give cadets early exposure to different perspectives, helping them develop empathy, cross-cultural communication skills, and understanding traits that are essential for building strong, cohesive units. And they also act as a conduit to the other members, to the other cadets, to allow them to kind of share their culture with the overall student body, which is an important aspect, I think, of our nation, right, in this melting pot that we live in. If we are focused on warfighting and lethality, military academies should disband any club that do not directly correlate to that objective, such as religious, sports, and hobby clubs. But I don't think we need to do that, and I think diversity clubs should be included as well. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment. Thank you very much, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes himself. Chair opposes this amendment. Service academies already permit establishment of clubs and organizations if they are created with no cost to the government and without government sponsorship or faculty. These are appropriately organized by cadets, led by cadets, for cadets. Let's call this what it is. It's a way to attack the President and the Secretary on transgender service. To be clear, this amendment does not talk about clubs for men and women or single-sex clubs. Rather, it deliberately calls out clubs based on gender. Using the service academies to launch another attack on the President's decision to de-emphasize race and gender for readiness and lethality only serves to alienate future cadets and recruits. Any other members seek recognition? Gentleman from New York, Mr. Ryan, and after that, we'll get to the gentleman from Wisconsin. Gentleman from New York is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to speak in support of my colleague, Mr. Cisneros' amendment. I have a unique view on this, representing West Point, which is both my alma mater and also now located in my district. I was there twice last week, and unprompted, multiple cadets, men, women, plebes, firsties, from all across the country, all unprompted, said they're really trying to wrap their head around this. These are smart, young, patriotic Americans who are being told clubs that have been in place, most if not all of them have been there certainly when I was a cadet 20 plus years ago are now being wiped away. And they're such earnest, great young people that I had multiple conversations with them trying to really apply good faith in their minds to what is going on here. And it's such a disservice to them. That is a distraction to them. The fact that this is now being debated in their classrooms when these are long-standing, never before politicized clubs to just provide camaraderie, cohesion, and a place at a very intense 4-year experience to bond with folks you might not otherwise interact with among a 4,000 plus person Corps of Cadets. So with respect to my colleagues, to say that this amendment is politicizing is just incredibly disingenuous and hypocritical when the decision to issue such a broad, unprecedented, overreaching executive order by the president then led well-intentioned senior military leaders like the great superintendent at West Point and our other service academies to have to scramble and grapple with this. And most importantly, and I'll end with this, again, bringing it back to our cadets, the fact that this is now another thing that they have to grapple with in the politicization of our military when we're all taught and we all say we need to remove the politics. So again, I think the spirit of Mr. Cisneros' amendment is right here. If you want to go this direction and willy-nilly disband these clubs, then let's do it. I certainly don't support that. I know this amendment doesn't do that. None of us are arguing for that. What we're saying is let's go back to what has been proven and tried and true for decades under multiple administrations from both parties and multiple Congresses. This has never come up before. If this was such a burning issue, why wasn't this introduced in previous NDAAs over the last decades while these clubs have been in place? So it's just it's a disgrace. And I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Gentleman yields back. Chair, and I recognize the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Van Orden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am the longest-serving enlisted member of the United States military to ever get elected to Congress in the history of this nation. And I'm one of 2 enlisted people in the history of the Naval Academy to sit on the Board of Visitors. Throughout my military career, I managed thousands and thousands of members of the military, men and women, from every branch of service except for Space Force. And I'm telling you right now, there's a reason that you get your hair cut in boot camp, and they put you in a uniform, and they try to remove all of the differences between us, so that the only thing we see is a uniform. And by definition, when we're splitting ourselves up into these small groups, we are not being uniform. It's literally the definition of the word. So the Supreme Court case that's been quoted over and over and over again didn't address the service academies, specifically did not address them because there's distinct national security issues with that. They put it aside. So even that is disingenuous by saying that. And Chief Justice John Roberts was very clear when he wrote that. He also, this is the guy that wrote this, the way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race. And we need to take that on board. And in fact, my colleague pointed out that some of these people feel like minorities. Well, we are. We're less than 1% of Americans that decide to raise our right hand and take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We're less than 1%, so we are a minority. But we're also a homogenous minority. It doesn't matter what the color of our skin is. I never asked anybody their political perspective. I never asked them what they did in the privacy of their own home, ever. And we never cared. And there were instances when people brought this up in the SEAL teams and we crushed them. Because the only thing we care about in the United States military, and the only thing we should be caring about, is whether or not you can shoot, move, and communicate. That's what we're concerned about. We don't care about your race, your gender, your sexual orientation. We don't care about any of that. And the second that we do, we become less of a military. So I'm not sure how I can be more clear about this. I strenuously oppose this amendment. I do respect my fellow sailor who submitted this, and I believe that his intent was good, but I believe that the outcome of this amendment passing would further erode the ability of our military to perform their functions. And by the way, the United States Marine Corps focuses on 3 things: mind, body, and spirit. And to say that religious clubs do not have a place in service academies are foolish. And this is why. because they deal with the byproduct of lethality. I've had 21 of my friends, with the passing of Senior Chief Mike Day, 21 of my friends that I know personally commit suicide because they were not able to deal with the consequences of lethality. So these religious clubs are incredibly important to ground our servicemen and women in something that is whole and real and eternal, and that's their faith. So again, Mr. Chairman, I strongly do not support this amendment, and I urge my colleagues to vote against it. And with that, I yield back the remainder of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Hawaii, Ms. Takuda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I speak in very strong support of this amendment. As was just mentioned, our military service population is 1% of this country's population. Well, imagine being less than 10% of 1%. Less than 10% of 1% is what most communities of color are in the United States military. I'll share a story. I did not have the privilege of going to a service academy, but when I came to college for the first time on the mainland, my very first time away from home on the continent, the first thing I did was start a Hawaii club that had literally maybe one handful of people. And you know why? Not because I was about to indoctrinate them into some criminal ideology, not for any political purposes. But oftentimes when you are a mere percentage point in the single digits, it's about a way to belong. It's about a way to understand, as we all wear the same uniform, go to the same schools, do all of these different things, how we can connect and find each other. What do you fear? In the Japanese Forum Club, the Korean American Relations Seminar, the Native American Heritage Forum, the Vietnamese American Cadet Association, the National Society of Black Engineers, the Society for Hispanic Professional Engineers, the list goes on and on. We are not talking about some divisive indoctrination or ideology here. We're talking about people that are mere percentage points within the service academies and less than a percentage point in the American population, trying to find a way, as was just mentioned, like religion, to help cope and deal with what is a very stressful, rigorous, arduous endeavor. Going through a service academy is no easy feat. No. Not every American can step up to this challenge and complete it. As humans, what we do is we lean on each other. And believe me, there's more than just religion to be leaned on when it comes to dealing with what are very difficult pathways forward as they deal with lethality, as they deal with the stress of war fighting and stepping into these roles. Believe it or not, we look at each other, at our common connections and culture, ethnicity, how we were raised, our values, our language, the way we look. You and I can put on the same uniforms, my friend, and I promise you I will stand out more than many of you. And so to damn our cadets to not having the ability to sit together at common tables, not feed off a DOD trough, and tell them they cannot lean on each other to find a way forward, to continue to serve our country in this way, well, that's a damn shame. And that's why I strongly support this amendment, and I oppose those amendments that seek to somehow say that folks that look like me coming together in defense of this country is an insult, is an indoctrination. I oppose those amendments as well. So my colleagues, I strongly urge you to support this amendment, and I thank Mr. Cisneros for introducing it.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, it is wrong to hire, fire, or promote based on skin color. Our military has a job, as the Commandant of the Marine Corps said, is to close with the enemy and stick a bayonet in his heart. If somebody saved your life on the battlefield, you wouldn't care if they were pink or blue, male or female, Democrat, Republican, or independent, or whatever. We are Americans, and we need to focus on doing the job. And when you don't hire or promote in the military based on merit, you get people killed. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to yield the remainder of my time to Mr. Derek Van Orden.
Thank you. Hey, listen, I was a member of the United States Navy SEAL teams, which is less than 1% of the Navy, which is part of the military, which is less than 1% of our population. And I cannot stress enough to my colleagues that the more separation we put between us by identifying ourselves as individuals, the less we can be uniform. And how you function as a team has got to be seamless. And I'm saying this from experience. I've lived and worked on 5 different continents and managed thousands and thousands of sailors. And you have to understand that when we separate ourselves intentionally, by definition, we cannot be as united as possible. And when we stop looking at each other because of our gender or our skin color, the more effective we are in the battle space. And that's been proven over and over and over again through time. So it is time to get rid of these clubs and organizations and all these things that separate service members from each other. Put on the uniform, pick up a gun, defend your country, learn how to shoot, move, and communicate, and then the world will be a safer place. And with that, I yield back the remainder of my time.
Gentleman yields back chair, and I recognize the gentlelady from Washington, Ms. Strickland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am in full support of this amendment, but I do have a question. Why did male, straight, and white become the default for being a warfighter? One of my colleagues talked about faith as something that helps the whole person. When those of us who belong to minority groups or women walk into the room, you see exactly who we are. And it does not diminish our ability to serve our country and to do it well and to learn the basics of what needs to be done. This is top-tier gaslighting that I'm hearing right now, acting as though belonging to an affinity group is somehow divisive and makes the most lethal military in the world less effective. As we look at the needs of a changing world, all the places we have conflict, you need more people with different perspectives and life experience. And to say that having these clubs at a military academy is divisive is insulting. So I will ask the question again. We talk about Asian American clubs. We talk about Black engineers. We talk about LGBTQ clubs. We talk about clubs that serve women. You know what's conspicuously not on that list? So I ask the question again. Why is white, male, and straight the default position for being qualified to do this work? I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back chair, and I recognize the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Ms. Houlihan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I also very strongly support Mr. Cisneros' amendment regarding the affinity clubs at our service academies. Every one of us who is here who has served our country can attest to the very critical importance of leadership and of camaraderie and of a shared skill development. And I agree very much with Mr. Van Orden, my colleague, about the commonalities that we have as men and women of service and in uniform. Everyone who's been a student or a teacher or on a team or who's coached a team knows how important affinity groups are in developing and shaping us. The language and culture affinity groups for the Vietnamese American Cadet Association, the Asian Pacific Forum Club, the Japanese Forum Club, the Korean American Relations Seminar, the Society for Women Engineers, and the National Society of Black Engineers were disbanded at the academies. But the Polish Club, the German Club, the West Point French Forum was not. I'm a Polish-American person, but I'm also a woman engineer, and I can imagine that had I been fortunate enough to be at an academy, I might have benefited from both of them. And I very much appreciate that many people find strength through their spirituality, and for those who do, God bless them, literally. But you cannot allow the German club and a faith club to be the only things that you are expected to provide solace or belonging with when you're in academy. Stripping service academy students of opportunities to simply build cohesion through these Directorate of Candidate Activities or DCA clubs is super short-sighted, and it will ultimately harm overall readiness, and I dare say it will ultimately hurt lethality as well. These organizations also provide Academy students with the invaluable opportunities for career-building mentorships and activities that expose our future officers to critical thinking, in the case of the Society for Women Engineers as an example, or to uphold the intellectual tradition of our academies. And so targeting select minority groups that have long enriched the American military sends a chilling message, not just to prospective students, but to allies and to our foes worldwide alike. And it undermines our lethality as well. With that, I yield back, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to vociferously defend and support this particular amendment.
General Lady yields back. Does any other member seek recognition on the Cisneros amendment? Seeing none, the question occurs on the amendment offered by Mr. Cisneros. So many as in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. Madam Chair, the ayes have it. Recorded votes requested, recorded votes postponed to a later time.